Welcome to the A2C Podcast. We're your unfiltered ticket to the world behind high achievers of every kind. No ads here, it's just pure value. So do me a favor and share this if you find some inspiration, motivation, or something else in between. Authentic, no constraints, no limits. Let's go. So before we get started, what questions do you have? What concerns? Are you scared?
No, I don't. From what I've gathered, it's going to be pretty casual and just have a conversation, right?
Yeah, basically. We're just going to talk for a while, and if it goes for half an hour, cool. If we want to go the full 3 hours, cool. I'm having a little bit of a drink.
Okay.
Welcome to have whatever you want. Just don't go to jail for it. How's life, though? How's the new mortgage move?
It's good. It's been awesome. It was a long time coming for sure. Had a lot of stuff that we had to get together, and we were able to go out to Tennessee. That was my first time to ever go to Tennessee, so I got to see something new. And I will tell you, I was in awe with how big the trees were. So you can tell, obviously, I haven't been around some big old trees here in Texas because it's always just irregular trees. But that's the first thing that I saw. And then they have some amazing houses out there, very established. From what I had seen, of course, I know there's like different areas and stuff, but I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. We got to go out there, meet RE/MAX agents who are out there who are conjoined to the mortgage company that we work with.
Right.
Everybody gave us a warm welcome. I was very nervous. Nervous because I know how some real estate agents are or realtors are when it comes to new people coming in and stomping on their grounds.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
But what part of Tennessee were you in?
In Germantown.
I have no idea where the fuck that is. Where is that?
I didn't know either. I was like, never heard of that one. But we did look into going to Nashville. It's 3 hours away. So
Knoxville or towards Memphis?
Direction you wasn't have to go, but I just know it's 3 hours.
Okay. I'll have to look it up then. I love Tennessee. I'll actually be out in Nashville in December. We're going to take, for our mastermind that we run, our top group, we do a quarterly meetup. We're going to Nashville. And then I think my wife and I are going to fly in a day or two early and go hang out with a good friend of mine that got this big, like $2 million house on the lake in Knoxville. And
Nice.
Gorgeous. It looks like a mini White House. It's crazy.
Oh, that's cool. I can see that. I saw a lot of houses out there that just look like mini mansions. I'm like,
Yeah.
These are beautiful.
Did you look at the home values on them?
Yeah, they're cheap.
To get that, so like I'm in Idaho now, and home values are a lot more in line here. But even still here, it like in Idaho, home values would blow people in Tennessee away. Like Vegas, $2 million is going to get you like a 4-bed, 3-bath type of place with a decent piece of land, but nothing like it's insane. And for $2 million, they've got like the Ritz.
Yeah. That's what I was curious about. So we were just passing by and I was like, wow, these houses have to be like 3 or 4 million. And then I looked, I was like, oh, 1.2, what? Yeah, so really surprising.
Yeah, it's insane. I know Texas, especially like DFW and Houston and San Antonio, you get into the bigger areas, y'all are pretty similar to what we have going on out west as far as pricing goes. And it's like if you want to be sub 300 anymore, you're not even getting a house, you get a condo.
Yeah.
Maybe a townhouse.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially here in Texas. If it's about the same here or over there, that's what it looked like. And then looking around my neighborhood, I have somewhat of a decent houses, maybe like 450, 500 out here that you wouldn't have to necessarily get a condo. So there's still some pockets that are affordable. But yeah, it's been difficult for, I would say, at least the last 8 to 9 months for really anybody to find something.
When inventory's so low, nobody's building. Corporate money is expensive right now and hard to get at. So
yeah,
interesting market. I'm going to be honest.
It really is. It really is. I've been in the business for 13 years and I jumped in when I was selling like 6 and 7s. So whenever 6 and 7 rates came around, I was like, oh, no big deal. This isn't going to be an issue. But the problem is just the shortage of homes. At the time when I started, there wasn't a shortage of homes and you were able to get people in. What I'm really seeing is that the investors are picking up homes. They're really stepping into the creative financing to where they reach out to the homeowners, ask them to owner finance or step 2, wraps. Very creative because people don't want to come in with financing right now.
Yeah. And I get it. I don't want to take bank money right now.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's really expensive. And so like I make pretty good money. I have 5 businesses. All 4 of my businesses are profitable. I have one that's not profitable. I spend like $500,000 a year more than it makes. And that's my mastermind.
Yeah.
But because it's on my balance sheet as a whole, it costs me like 3 points at a lender right now. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're like, oh, just do a 3-2-1 or hold on to it for a few years. But it's 3 points on what I want to buy. Like we're talking for 3 years, multiple 6 figures. I'm not down for that. I'll keep renting.
Yeah.
Like I'm renting for almost free because that money is deployed into investments that are just kicking out dividends. And now I get to offset it because I have a home office and I'm almost renting for free. So why would I buy in? And I don't know.
Yeah. As far as the term, it would make sense if it was being a longer term. But you said only 3 years. So that the 3 points.
It's 3 points extra. That's what 3 points.
To charge you to do the loan or 3 points to the rate?
3 points to the rate.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
if it was 3 points to origination or something, I could maybe get on board with it. We're 3 points to the loan rate. And I'm like, no, are you kidding me? Because I'm not a big believer in equity. When it comes to real estate, leverage equity is lazy fucking money. Yeah. People go broke I know so many millionaires that can't put food on their table because it's all tied up in equity and they can't get at it.
I see that too with investors. Like they'll hold their homes, which is great, and they'll rent them out. And then they have this huge spread of equity, which taking advantage like 2 years ago would have been ideal, but they're not tapping into it. So I'm also on the same board of tapping into your equity, using it to be able to purchase more properties and keep going with it, and then using different strategies to increase that income. So I see that a lot.
That's where I'm at. Like I'll cash out refi, I'll HELOC, and as soon as I'm old enough to qualify, I will reverse mortgage. Holy shit, I will leverage reverse mortgage as hard as I can. I don't like equity, so that's just me. Just so everybody knows, Ashley's your tornado zone right now?
Yeah, we've been having tornado warnings like all day, and we've had flood warnings, and I keep looking out because the water, we have this ditch area that's supposed to get all the water out through our homes. And it's been dried out for months. And I guess this hurricane came through. Didn't even know there was a hurricane going on. And we've been getting rain for the past 3 days, which we need it, totally need it. But yeah, it's a little spotty, but hopefully we'll get through it.
No, we're going to get through and it's going to be good. I'm telling you, my team, Aiden, my guy that does our podcast, he's just blowing me away. He's only been with me a few months now. And man, I can't wait to bonus this kid every single time. He's such a badass. So he's going to make it look good for us, Ashley.
That's awesome.
What's that? Oh, good job. Yeah, Chris Killy is actually the one that linked that up. And shout out Chris. He's done a really great job with what they've done. So total change of topic. I want to talk about the TV show a little bit. But before we talk about the TV show, I'd be remiss if I didn't say you look a lot better than I look. I've got like the lights beating off my forehead and I have my lights on a freaking dimmer and it's down all the way and I haven't put the makeup on or anything. I need some pointers because you are a TV star and you got it down pat to look good on camera. Help me look better on camera so I quit looking so sharp for YouTube.
I can't tell you, I'm using some natural light. I have my window in front of me, so that helps a lot. Earlier, when it was almost pitch black, I had to get in a light over here on this side and just hang it on top where the camera is. to where it's not coming at your face. That helps a lot.
So natural light more than
but with this,
my lights are pointed away from me. They're literally pointed at the wall, and I'm still getting this.
oh,
I know. I've got this 10 head up here, and it likes to shine.
hey, if you want to put some makeup on, you can.
So what kind of makeup should a dude use? And it's got to be a makeup that doesn't leave me drinking beers by myself for a while when I tell my buddies I wear makeup. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have no idea. And honestly, I don't wear a lot of makeup like myself. And I've been using the same stuff since I was in high school, which is crazy. But whenever I get on camera, I have to put all kinds of stuff on. So like right now, it's pretty, how can I say it? Not a lot of makeup. I did put on some eyelashes so you can see my eyeballs, but
We'll put on some eyelashes.
but I like using just like regular powder, nothing like cakey or anything like that really helps. And then with the shine, the powder helps. So I use like True Match. What is it called? L'Oreal. There we go.
L'Oreal True Match. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to Amazon some. I'll talk to my wife and see what she can find me. And it's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. How's the TV show going though?
It's going amazing. I love it so much. And I say
How did it even start? How did this even start?
Yeah, it really started with thinking about it and really saying, hey, I need to do something different from all the other loan officers in my area, even nationwide. And at the end of, I'm going on 2 years. So it was 2 years ago in December, put down a goal. I need to find a way to get on TV. And at that time, oh my gosh, I was not anywhere near okay with being on camera. Because even Facebook, you need to get on there, do your reels and stuff like that. I was just not into it. I didn't want to do it. And for some reason, I just said, I still need to find a way to get on TV. And it happened to be that it just happened. I was on Facebook one day and they were looking or doing a casting call for top loan originators in the area for a TV show. And I was like, that's weird. I swear I just thought about this maybe like a couple of weeks ago and it's right here in front of me. I don't know. It's weird. And I didn't think it was a real thing because there's a lot of scam stuff going on with social media. But I was like, maybe this isn't a coincidence. I should just apply and see what happens. So I applied, I got a call back, did the interview, and they liked me and we signed a contract and we started filming.
So what is the show actually about? And you'll have to forgive me. I know I should have watched some episodes, but I haven't.
That's okay. What it really highlights is the culture, lifestyle, events in different communities. And the biggest thing is positive media because there's so much negative media like everywhere. Even I won't name like some of the bigger networks, but
name them. This podcast is about just calling spades motherfucking spades. So
like the bigger networks that a lot of people talk about, like HGTV and all of the cool real estate fix and flip shows, those are all scripted. It's not real. And with this show, it's all real.
You tell my wife Magnolia Farms, and if you tell her that isn't real, it's gonna break her heart.
Ew, don't tell her. But it might be a little different now with Chip and Joanna because they have their own network and they might have it real. I don't know. But the other shows, they're not. So the ones where they get a real estate agent and they go out and say, oh, I have this big old budget, help me find this house. That's definitely scripted.
Okay, so we watched those. My wife and I were watching one. We don't watch a lot of TV, but this was just like a month or two ago. And we haven't watched one of those shows in years, right? And they're like, we have this big old budget and we want 5 beds, 18 bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, what's your budget? And they're like, $213,000. I'm like, my God, that's not even a down payment where I'm from.
Yeah.
And then they go through the whole show. They find some little shitty thing. They fix it up into some nicer little thing.
Yeah.
But there's no way that happened it didn't actually happen for their budget. We overran. We were closer to 240. Mm-hmm. Like 240, if you're only approved at 240 out west of the Rockies here, you can't even get a realtor to take an appointment and take you around.
Wow.
unless what you're looking for is townhome, condo. If you're looking for single family at 240, you can't even get a real right now. You might, because most realtors are desperate as fuck right now, but the good ones aren't. I will say that. but yeah, it's so funny. We'll watch those shows and we're like, this can't be real. I don't care where in the country you are. $200,000 for 8 bed, 6 bath on 13 acres with a pond, and no.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't even like the numbers. Sometimes I'm like, there's no way that works. Even like with the fix and flip shows, and we do fix and flips. I'm like, there's no way it only costs that much to do that.
So there's a couple that does a show, big fix and flip show out of Vegas. I lived in Vegas, right? One of the reasons we moved, we started, we weren't, like, we've always talked about moving to Idaho because my wife is from here and all those things. But we were pretty set on staying in the Vegas area, or I was at least. And one of the big things that got us to move up here was like 18 months ago, we were looking at, okay, we had sold our home in Southern Utah, which Southern Utah market puts the Vegas market to shame. There are so many people spending stupid money on homes there. Like, buying and selling homes in Southern Utah is fucking moronic. More so than anywhere else I've ever found. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking in Vegas, and it's for what we want, and not even what we want. Like what we need plus a few of the wants. Not even, oh, this was our dream home. It's your $2-3 million bucks. But then this fix and flip show would come on. They're like, our budget's $400,000. And it's, I'm sorry, you don't get a home in Boulder City overlooking Lake Mead, like drinking coffee, looking out over the freaking lake. And you don't get a home like that short of 1.5 in Vegas at all. And here they are running it at like sub $500,000. And it's like 2021, 2022, but still the market didn't inflate by 100% in 1 year. Yeah. We've had some big inflation and big appreciation, but it wasn't like that. So anyways, no shade to that couple in Vegas, but it has to be fake. Like, it has to.
Yeah, honestly, I think it got worse over time, because at the beginning, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think I know which one you're talking about. And as the show grew and they grew as well, it just seemed like the numbers just kept getting smaller and smaller on their budget. And I'm like, there's no way. But as far as like them finding deals, the only thing that I can think of is if they're finding people who are like in an absolute desperate situation, like going into foreclosure, having to do a short sale, like they have money and they
best property or
that, and they find them that way. That makes sense. But in that time, it was harder to find that than what I think it's going to be coming out from like even a couple months to go to the future. I see a lot. I get a lot of calls now, even to myself as a mortgage loan officer. Hey, I'm behind on these payments, or hey, I'm behind on taxes. Can you help me? I'm like, I can see what I can do, but it's almost impossible to help anybody whenever they're behind on a mortgage payment to get them out of their situation unless they sell or they find an investor to take over their mortgage and get them back up.
So I will say this with no shame. In the early days of my insurance and financial business, things were going so well, right? I was brought in, promised the world, and then dropped on my face. And we lost like all our savings. We were knocking on the door, bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce, the whole 9 yards. And fortunately, one of our saving graces was my wife's a badass and put up with me. And I went to work and figured out how the fuck to make some money. But one of the other things that saved us was our loan at the time. Our mortgage was an FHA, first-time home buyer. Mm-hmm. And we did a loan mod. And that loan mod, without it, I don't think we could have stayed in our home. And it took 7 years for that to come off my credit. It didn't impact me quite a bankruptcy would have, but we were still able to buy cars over that 7 years, but we paid extra points on loans and things. But that loan mod it gave me the room that I needed in my budget to figure out how to go make money in this business. And then we started running top agencies and firms and whatever. That all came later. But in that moment of despair, I feel like that loan mod is one of the most underutilized options on an FHA. Nobody talks about it, but it's there. And it's
Yes,
great.
it is. Yeah, it is. But I will tell you, I have a story. I got a call, I want to say like over a month ago, and she was telling me her situation. She is currently going through a foreclosure, and I started asking questions. I'm like, did you know you were going to go into foreclosure? Did you get notified? And she's, no, I didn't get notified until they came to let me know that my house was going to be going for auction on whatever day it was. I think she said Monday or Tuesday. And I was so confused. I was like, how is that possible? And I started asking more questions, and come to find out she did try to get that loan modification. And with COVID, there was so much that happened. Of course, like with the presidency, they said you cannot charge people the interest during the COVID because they're not making payments. It needs to be modified somehow. Nobody knew what they were doing. And everybody was just making up rules of what they were going to do with loan modifications. And I think she lucked out because whenever she was working on her loan modification, they told her, do not pay the payments until we figured out what you need to do.
Which is what screws your credit, by the way.
Yes. They got her extra behind. And then as they were working on it, they were selling it to a different servicer at the same time, didn't notify her of her change of servicer. She tried to go, when she found out about her house being foreclosed on and going to the auction, she found out about the new servicer, called the servicer and said, hey, we've been trying to work on this loan modification for months. They told me not to make the payment. Can you help me finish the loan modification? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. Turn in your paperwork. She turned in her paperwork, and then she followed up with them. And they're like, oh no, it's too late. Your house is getting foreclosed. And without any notification from the current servicer, they were working on her application. You're frozen, Carson.
You're frozen, Ashley.
I don't
Damn
know.
it. You're back.
Oh, there you go.
So no notifications, but
the last part?
isn't there so much regulation? So we originated that house we did the loan mod on. We originated with Veritas, which Veritas is a pretty big originator, right? And then it was sold to Utah Housing Corporation. And Utah's the Utah Housing Corporation is the one that did the loan mod. And this was back like early 2010s, right? But when Veritas was selling to Utah Housing Corp, we had so much notification. We got letters like every week for a freaking month, emails, paper mail. Yeah, we literally had, if I remember right, we had a few times. And shout out Scott Bell was the lender. He's not with Veritas anymore, but he was our lender at Veritas. That dude literally had his assistant print out the notice and put it in an envelope and come and stick it in our door like a couple times. We knew we were going to Utah Housing Corp.
Yeah.
I know that was above and beyond. That's the extra mile, right?
Oh, yeah.
But is there not some pretty strict regulation on notification? And then number two, I hear that so much in my line of work. Nobody ever told me, fucking bullshit, Jerry.
That's what I told her.
You were told.
Oh, that's what I told her. I was like, hold on. Did you opt out of mail, or did you get everything online? I was like, go sign in right now. See if there's anything. There's nothing. I'm like, I don't know. And on top of that, the house got foreclosed on. The person or the company who bought it back was the original servicer. So I was like, this is some crazy stuff, and I don't know what's going on, but something ain't right.
Yeah, I would hire an attorney if I was her.
Yeah, so I told her, I was like,
if she legitimately didn't get the communication, I would hire an attorney. If she did, shut the fuck up and live in the bed that you made.
That's usually what happens. I was like, okay, let's backtrack here. And she's, no, I got nothing. I'm like, okay. And then when she told me who bought it, I was like, that's fishy.
That's not the case. Attorneys will take pro bono because if it happened to you, it probably happened to hundreds or thousands of other people because maybe the company thought they were sending notifications, but their CRM was down or there was a systems issue or something. And so it goes class action. Lawyers take that on pro bono. They'll go do a little bit of research and they're getting 30% of $100 million suit or something.
I did some research on it and I looked up the banks, and there has been several people who have had similar stories. So I told her, I was like, you definitely need to look into getting a lawyer because what you're telling me is not right.
And sometimes that's a whole nother thing. People don't realize you can go talk to a lawyer and they're like, yeah, for $10,000 on retainer, I'll go do some homework. And because lawyers, people don't understand, attorneys can pull a lot of things through like LexisNexis and that homework you couldn't do as an individual, right? But a $10,000 retainer is unaffordable. However, spend some time on Google, spend some time on the forums. You find 10 other people that had the same issue with the same company at the same time. Now we have an option for a class action. Get all 10 to write statements, take that to an attorney. And now that attorney sees the writing on the wall and they're like, hey, I'm going to waive the retainer. Let me do some homework. Mm-hmm. And that takes one evening, one Cabernet evening on a Thursday, and all of a sudden you've got an option. So I don't know. Interesting, but
yeah, very.
I don't know. So what's your favorite part of being a TV superstar?
My favorite part, I think it's just maybe the filming part of it. So although I have a TV show, I have to come up with the content and I have to interview people, and then I'll have to turn it in to see if they agree and let me film it. And then actually showing up, ready to go and getting to meet the people that I'm interviewing. I think that's the fun part. And I like to focus on like businesses, smaller businesses, those who are not going to get the limelight like the bigger businesses do. That, I think it just really touches, like it's, how do you say it? Tugs at your heartstrings. Is that the right word? I think so. So like to be able to provide somewhat of a service to like the smaller businesses, because they're getting to be seen nationwide. And if I wasn't the one doing that, there's probably nobody else who was going to do it for them. So I think that's my favorite part.
And is it all, like, obviously, probably all in Texas, I'm assuming. What part of Texas? Is it very local or all of Texas? Or
Yeah, so it's a nationwide show. I can really take it anywhere. But since I'm in Texas, it's a little bit easier for me to be able to get somewhere. So me being in San Marcos, I focus on some of the areas in the local communities. And I'll go out like to Dallas or Houston, different areas, just depending on what's going on. And it's not limited. That's the cool thing. I'm not limited to.
I was like,
just
Idaho. There's snow today.
Oh no. I saw that earlier today. That is crazy. Obviously we don't see very much snow over here where I'm at, and to see it already in October.
So yeah, we had a snow this early last year, and then it pretty much melted off, and there was no snow for Halloween and stuff. The first time it stuck was around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The winter was so long, and we had just come up from Vegas, and I was born and raised in Phoenix, Southern Utah, which people don't realize, like Northern Utah is mountains and Southern Utah is desert. It's 115 degrees in the summer. So I spent my whole life in the heat, and we've always come up here. My wife's family lives up here, so we'd come up on vacation for a week, but we spent like that snow hit at Thanksgiving and stuck.
Yeah.
We had snow on the ground. Like we couldn't take the four-wheelers out and go camping till the end of May.
Oh man.
Oh my God. And that's the whole reason I agreed to move up here, was the camping and the dirt biking and so anyways, yeah, it's starting to snow, and I'm literally in tears. I'm like, Camille, fuck this. What did you bring me to? I'm going to choke your neck. But no, it's good. It's good. I think we're going to get some snowmobiles this year.
That'd be fun and best balance.
I need something to do. But yeah, Idaho, come on up. Let's do a show. If you don't want me on there, I get it. I'm an Uggie. I can introduce you to some beautiful people up here. And
it'd be fun. I haven't been to Idaho, so it'd be cool to experience.
It's a cool spot. We did an event up here like a month and a half ago. We called it Hell Week. It was the craziest thing. Just had all these people that were like, yeah, here's $10,000 to come and work in your office for a week. I was like, well, shit. But I felt so bad about it. I was like, there's no way you can't come and just watch me work for a week. I can't take your money for that. I can't just have you come and sit here because you're going to be in my way. I know me. Like, I've got shit I got to do, and I'm going to sit and talk to you and whatever. So we came up with this idea of how we come up, whatever you want to work on, choose your big, hairy project or whatever, something big, something that's going to take you 6+ months to implement, but it's $1 million idea, right? And we'll work with you before the event and the whole 9 yards, bring that up. And for a week, I'm going to take the whole week off of work like my business is. I'll fly my whole team into town and you get 100% of me, my team, my resources, everything like graphic art and design, business planning, financial, like all of it. You can use the podcast studio, whatever. And we're just going to do your thing. And so, yeah, we had all these people come in, but it was so fun because they came up and end of summer, West Yellowstone's up the road. Old Faithful's like an hour and a half from here. And they were like, holy shit, I never realized Idaho was this beautiful. I freaking know. So, moral of the story is, y'all need an Idaho episode.
That'd be cool.
So what's on the TV show? What's the most frustrating thing? Let me phrase it differently. When you get done with the day and you come home and you're talking to your husband and you're fucking pissed, what is it you're pissed about? From the show and or things around or revolving around the show?
Dang. I really haven't had that yet. The only thing is my first show, I really didn't know what I was doing. I had written out like my script of what I was going to say on, what is that cardboard, but the poster board. I wrote it on a poster board so I could have somebody hold it. And that didn't work. Did not work for me. And it was raining and it was cold. I do not like being in cold. I'm just not that person. And honestly, that's the only thing I can think of, because I was just anxious for one, because it was my first time, and then not really getting a lot of guidance on what I needed to do or being camera ready or anything like that. So it was really a learning experience, my first time.
Yeah. How was that experience? This is a whole company that wanted to do a TV show, but they didn't give you the direction on what to wear and how, like the makeup to wear and what to say. And that's weird to me because my view, I've never done TV, is that they want all the control. And so they tell you all the things.
Yeah. So
how did that actually go?
This one literally it's all on me, basically. And I like it that way because I don't like to be micromanaged anyways. And I don't want people to tell me what to do. And going back to the other types of shows where they're scripted, they're telling you exactly what to do, exactly what to say, exactly what to wear. And with this, I have like full control of what it is that I want. And not knowing TV, first of all, not really being in front of a camera for one at all, it was hard and it was a little frustrating because I didn't know what to do. So even though it was difficult and hard, it still came out good. I had to create like a storyline on what it is that I wanted to show. And it was a parade that I did. So that kind of helped a lot, because there was a lot of like B-roll that I could use throughout. And then I interviewed a couple of people who were doing the parade. So I guess really having the idea and knowing what it is that how I'm wanting it to flow, it just worked out. And with that experience, I set up my episodes almost the same so that there isn't too much of a change. How could I say it? Consistency. Because it helps me too. Because as I'm going through each episode, I already know what I'm going to do. Now I can just, we're showing up here, tell my videographer, this is where we need to meet. I get ready, I'll see you there. And then it just goes. And I really don't have to extra plan like I did my first episode where I wrote out everything on some poster board or anything like that. It just flows now, which is a lot more fun because I have more fun with it versus being like a robot like I was the first time.
I love that. So the funny thing is we've known each other for a few years now, right? 2 or 3 years, something like that. I would have never taken you for camera shy that first time we sat at Three Forks.
Yeah.
And I think we were sitting right by each other, and everyone else in the room is like talking at this mastermind dinner for those that don't know. And I don't even remember if I talked to you first or you talked to me. I was just like, is it cool if I just sit here? And you were like, yep. And then we just sat there and didn't talk. Oh my God, it was so funny. I would have never taken you for camera shy, but I'm camera shy too. So you were talking about shit. I got off.
We were talking about the TV show and
the creative control. That's what you were getting.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, hit on that again. I'm going to do one more thing, but I'm listening. I swear to God, I'll like 30 seconds.
Okay.
But I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah. So the part about the TV show is that it allows me to be more creative, and they allow me to do what I want to, and not having to be micromanaged is something that I like overall. And with the consistency of doing the episodes about the same each time, it allows me to be able to have a flow that I have and have maintained throughout the time that I've started the TV show. So I enjoy it a lot more than I had previously whenever I started on my first episode. And not really because it was difficult. I think it was more of because I didn't have the hang of it yet. And now that I do, it has really become a love of mine now. It's a lot of fun for me.
All right, so let's get deep. You ready to get deep?
Sure. Let's go.
What the fuck happened in your childhood to where you don't like to be micromanaged?
Let's see. A lot.
I want to hear about all of it. So does everybody else.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family. I have 2 other sisters. I did have my mom and my dad, and there was a lot of abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, a lot of trauma that we had to go through as sisters together. And watching our mom get beat up all the time was pretty normal to us because we saw it all the time. But obviously it wasn't normal. As we got into school and started seeing other parents, or how their kids are with their parents, the different things that other kids would get to do and experience. And us being in a family that we thought was normal, it just really came to light that the stuff that we experienced shouldn't have happened, or we shouldn't have seen. And I think that with that type of childhood, it really pushed us to grow up fast because we had to really read our dad when he would come home. And it just really started with him putting the key in the door. How did he put the key in the door? Does it sound like he's mad, or does it sound like he's happy? And it's when he's walking through the house, he opened the door. Is his footsteps sound heavy or lighter today? Really just becoming very attuned to how his mood was going to be, was going to determine how our evening was going to be. But I think with that, it has really helped me as an adult because I can read people very easily. And I think that puts me back to our conversation of me being very distant when I meet people and having to read the room because I'm very aware of other people. And I like to be in situations where they're good situations. And if I feel that there's anything off, it really pushes me back when I'm somewhere. So with that upbringing, there's a lot of stuff that we had to go through from childhood to junior high school. My parents didn't really technically separate until I was about in junior high. They'd always go back and forth because the how can I say it's not the honeymoon stage, but it's just that stage of, oh, I beat your ass, but I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Come back to me. I'll never do it again. It was like that all the time. And finally, my mom started to realize
Stockholm syndrome, right? That's what they call it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't remember the term specifically. Battered women syndrome.
Yeah.
I think it is. And it just really, unfortunately, it just really takes an outside person just tell somebody these things are happening to you. Do not see that these things are wrong. And being a woman who's abused, they don't see it. And they're not ready to see it until they're ready. And my mom, it took her a long time to get there. And that created the woman that I am today, because I know the man that I want, and I know how, what I bring to the table. And I would never allow myself to be with a man like my dad was. And that really helps me in my marriage, because I found an amazing person. And I found him very early, which is crazy. But yeah, so I think that has a lot to do with why I have sometimes these episodes of, hey, don't micromanage me, don't tell me what to do kind of attitude. But I also have my softer side to where I'm more in tune with my feminine energy, which took me a long time to get to. I would say I was about 28-ish when I decided that I needed to stop being so bitchy all the time. But it had a lot to do with my childhood.
Damn. It's a lot of heavy stuff. There's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
Do you want to unpack some stuff?
Sure.
That feminine energy and leaning into it and all these things, there's probably a lot of good that's come from that, right?
Oh, yeah.
What are the bad things? Like, how has it hindered you in what you've tried to accomplish in your life so far?
And not being in the feminine, or not being in the feminine?
Both.
Bert, I want to talk about not being.
Okay.
And the reason is because I was in that for a long time. I didn't allow for my husband to be the man. I was in that masculine energy where it's, I need to take control. I need to make the money. I need to take care of the kids. I need to do everything. And I didn't want, even though he's like the most amazing person and he will do anything for me, I didn't want it. And I didn't understand why. And I kept pushing it away and pushing it away. Like, I was so mean, and I would do things that would make him like upset or sad. And then it would take me a long time to realize what I was doing is wrong. But the reason why I was pushing him away was because I didn't have that father who stuck around. I always thought that the men in my life were just going to do the same thing. And
like a shit test? You were just trying to see when he was going to leave?
Yeah, like, how much can you take to stay with me? Are you really going to stay with me? Because all I've seen was people just leave. And you're going to do that to me too. Although I wasn't thinking that, like, it was subconsciously what I was thinking as I grew up, and I realized these were the things that I was doing. And at that time, I didn't realize I was doing it. And then until I made the decision of, hey, I need to calm the fuck down. I need to go through my trauma and all my childhood shit and deal with it and release and become a better person. And I did. I have become so much better, and it feels good. Like, whenever I was in that masculine energy and I just wanted to take over and F everybody attitude, it was a lot of stress. It was, although like we can have these attitudes and stuff, it's like, why? Like, why do you gotta be rude to people all the time? And it's really because of yourself. And it was because of me. It was my fault. It was me. Yeah, of course, it wasn't my fault that I had experienced that childhood or that trauma. Yeah, but I chose to be that way. And then when I chose to not be that way, it's a whole 360.
So what was that turning point for you, whether it was like for you or you with your husband or whatever you want to share, where you were like, okay,
Yeah,
I have to be a different person than I'm being?
Yeah, I knew exactly when. And sometimes I replay it to remember it sucks. Like me and my husband were going through shit and I was pregnant and I was a little upset that he was working like a job that he had to travel to an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. And I was taking care of my kid, or because we have two now. So then I was taking care of, it was 4.5, almost 5 years at that time. So I was overwhelmed. I was a working woman. I was working all the time. I had to take care of him, pick up my son from daycare, and I was pregnant too. So it was just a lot. And it was really at that point where we totally just were not on the same page at all. That was almost our breaking point. And that breaking point is what made me realize that I don't want to live without this man, and I'm not going to live without this man, and I need to change.
At that time, did you know what you needed to change, or did it take a whole bunch of work to figure out, okay, this is why and what and how, and or was it just look in the mirror and it all became clear?
No, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of understanding why I was the way I was, because I didn't understand at that time, like why I was the way I was and why I did things and kept pushing and nitpicking and stuff like that. I didn't understand at that time in my life that all these things were a combination of what I still held inside. And it took a lot of inner work to release those things and forgive and be okay with it. Take those experiences and be a nicer, better person, because I don't have to be that way.
So what, like, that's your catalyst. What did that work actually look like? What do you like work with professionals, or just read some books and had some revelations, spent some time in nature? How did that actually look to you?
Yeah, so I reached out to some people who actually do that kind of releasing. I don't know exactly what they're called, but to me, what I experienced, it was similar to you talking to somebody like a psychiatrist or a counselor. However, they get you into a deeper state to your unconscious, and then you're going through like different parts of your life, and you're talking about different stages that you remember as a child, and
like the hypnotic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say like I was like, I don't know about this stuff. She's like, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. And I knew that I just had to figure something out, and I was willing to try. So I did. And I will say that the first time that I did it, I felt like a whole, like, I don't know what's up here, but it came up. And it still required, yes, some additional work, because making the choice of not acting the way that you did in the previous past, and accepting, forgiving, and cutting loose, like my dad, for instance, cutting him loose, cutting the people who were tied to me from years.
Damn. That's deep, Ashley.
Yeah.
Why the fuck didn't we talk about this when we were sitting there all awkward as hell at the steakhouse?
Hey,
what the hell?
Because it was definitely our first time to meet, and
yes,
I just don't tell people.
Oh no, I get it. It's all good.
I'm like way more open about it, because people don't know about these things. People don't understand that you don't have to be so angry, because I know exactly how it is. Like, just be angry all the time, and it's just not healthy overall too. It puts a lot of stress on your body, and it's a lot more fun to be happy and joyful.
Have you found like more progress or productivity? So I'm a big proponent of 5 stewardships in a person's life, right? Physical, mental, spiritual, family, work.
Yep.
And everyone's, oh, there's no such thing as balance. And then other people are like, oh, you have to have a balance. And I found like the truth is usually in the middle, right? So there is balance, but there's only balance when you focus on everything. It's like riding a bike. You have to be moving forward in every area to have a balance. So I guess like with that in mind, do you feel like you get more traction, more productivity being in this happier state? And you also mentioned it's not like you had 1 or 2 revelations and now you're good. It's like a daily, hey, don't be a bitch. Which I get, because literally 100 times a day I'm like, hey, saying it that way might make you a fucking dick. Maybe say it another way.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, what have you found in your life? What are the consequences of this, positive or negative?
Yeah. So honestly, I feel like it just really, it lifted off my weight off the shoulders. And I felt like there's just so many more open doors because I'm open to it. I'm a lot more open to it because I felt like before I decided that I was going to change as a person, kept hitting this wall. And I'm like, how the hell? I worked so hard. Why can't I not get past this wall? And then whenever I did, whatever that thing was, it just felt, wow, I just introduced like a whole nother world into my world, like in my mind. And I'm attracting more positivity because before I was attracting negative all the time. And I truly feel like there's more positive people in my life. I surround myself with more positive people. I've forgiven a lot of people in my past. And I really feel that it just has gravitated a lot more opportunities to me and my family.
It's awesome. How is your family, by the way?
Good. We're doing a lot of football. Ever since my oldest turned 5, we got him into flag football. And now it's full circle. My youngest is 5 years old now. And we just started him with flag football last week. So we're going to be busy with both of them.
That's so crazy because we're like, should we sign the boys up for hockey, or we're just fall basketball's ending soon? Do we do winter basketball too? I don't know.
It's not you. We do it all. I feel like
yeah, up here we can't play outside in the winter apparently. I don't know. But down in Vegas we couldn't play outside in the summer. If you were going to go swim in the pool, it had to be before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But that's cool. You have 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
What grades are they in?
Got a fifth grader and a kindergarten.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
Yeah, they are stomachs. They're very much in competition with each other all the time. They fight all the time. They want everything the other one has still. And I'm like, they're 5 years apart. What is up? But it's still a battle. But they're total polar opposites of each other. One is definitely me in terms of attitude and stuff like that. And the other is definitely my husband.
Isn't that the craziest thing? My boys are the same way. My boys are 1st grade and 3rd grade. And total polar opposites, but best friends. They could be sitting there fighting with each other, but some other neighborhood kid comes up and picks on one or the other, and they're both, fuck you. And oh my God, it's so great. But it's so crazy because my oldest boy is totally my wife.
Yeah.
Just the kindest, sweetest, most emotionally sensitive, and not like in a bad way, in a very mature way, like very emotionally mature. And then my youngest is me. He's just mad at the world for some reason. And you're like, motherfucker, you didn't even have to be squeezed out of a vagina. They cut you out and you came out gently. Come on, dude. But he's just mad. He's mad. Yeah. My wife can't deal with it. And she'll just be like, I can't handle Jameson. And I'm like, I got this. And I'll go up to him and be like, the fuck is going on? He'd be like, I don't know, Dad. And he'll just calm down immediately and we'll start talking. It's the funniest thing. But I'm like, blows me away, these kids, how different they can be from the two same people.
Yeah, really.
Why do you think that is, Ashley?
Honestly, I have no idea. But I think about that too, and I just wonder, like, how in the world did we create one like that and one like this? And I don't know, it's just crazy. And then, like, my kids, they look totally different from each other too. Like, one has straight hair, the other has curly, one's dark, one's light. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're totally different. It's funny.
For real. So do you ever, like, you're in Texas. I love that Texas has this attitude that's whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. If you're Texan, you have a big old swinging dick and Uncle Sam's not going to tell you what to do. I love it. I love it. And there was some stuff just like a month or two ago about COVID protocol coming back. I have the hardest time with that. Like we homeschooled through COVID and my boys are so far ahead academically. It's ridiculous. And we didn't do school for more than 2 hours a day, which makes you wonder about the education system. But
yeah.
Like, how is it in Texas? What do you do with your kids to make sure they're on track, to make sure, I don't know, it's such a crazy freaking world. Yeah. What's life like in Texas being a parent? Do you feel better being a parent in Texas versus somewhere else? Or I don't know.
Yes, one of my business partners, she lives in California, and I visited over there for the first time where he was, which is in Long Beach. And let me tell you, I had a culture shock. I was just blown away with what I would see. The homeless people walking around doing drugs in the street. And then, of course, you're going to run into some news while you're visiting because the TVs are on in the hotels, and they're talking about how they were going to allow kids to make their own decision of being whatever they wanted to be. And the parents had no say while they were still in school. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. And
we're talking transgenderism, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a podcast. We didn't say, what are they going to do? Cancel us, Ashley? We'll go back to your whole fucking thing. Fuck it. Like, for it or against it. I'm sorry, my kid doesn't get to decide to go to war, decide to drink alcohol or anything like. No, they're not choosing that for themselves. They're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. They're way too young because it's like they can't even decide what toy they want to play with today, or
grapes or apples or shit.
So you cannot, to me personally, you cannot allow a child to make a decision that young. Culture shock. And then hearing that, I'm like, oh, hell no. I am not ever going to be living in California for one, but I'm glad that it's somewhere in a state that doesn't now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but likely not ever going to go that way. But stuff like that it's not tolerated. It's something that you don't really have to talk about. There's some pockets. Like in the Austin area, there's some pockets here and there.
Which is like mini California and Austin, man.
Yeah. And again, I'm not against either option, but for a child to be able to make the decision without a parent is ridiculous to me.
It's so crazy because people are like, when do you let somebody start being who they are? And like, how can you tell them what's good for them? It's just ask them if they think broccoli's fucking good for them. They're going to tell you no.
Exactly.
Give me that Kraft single, daddy. And I'll be like, shut the fuck up and eat your broccoli.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's just, it blows my mind. But as far as like being in Texas, like with the COVID and stuff, we did follow the rules for a little bit. And then that got crossed out. And I was happy because having to wear masks around all the time, and then the forced vaccine, I'm not for that. People should make their own decisions on what they want to do, regardless of where you work. And I'm proud to be a Texan, and with the thinking and just all the stuff that we have to go through nowadays. It's just crazy to me. It's so mind blowing. And one day we're going to look back and see all the things that we went through and be like, how the hell did stuff even happen like that? And how the hell And why the hell are we even talking about that? That's weird.
I was talking to a dude yesterday, and he was like, can you imagine 20, 30, 50 years from now, they're studying the year 2020, 2021, and this is the conversations they were having. Can you imagine what the fuck? Probably the same way that like we study the late 1930s and early 1940s in Eastern Europe, and we're like, what the fuck? How could you even think that? Like, it doesn't even compute. And so many things. But that was just a really fucked up time. I think Texas was probably one of the great places to be. Idaho was a great place to be. Idaho literally almost elected one of the Ammon Bundy, the dude that like literally tried to hold up the federal government for cows and pastures and a courthouse or some federal building. And I don't even know. But Idaho almost elected that dude as governor just like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
There's a point where it's a little too extreme. Maybe we didn't need to be that extreme. So I'm down the side of, I'm glad he didn't get elected. Like, I don't want a radical on either side in charge. Radicalism is radicalism. Like,
yeah,
crazy is fucking crazy. I don't need any of that. That's the time. You could be crazy right or crazy left. Either way, crazy tosses a toaster into the bath while you're in there. I don't need that.
For sure.
But it's a cool place. That was one of the things that made us decide that, hey, if shit was to come back down the pike, even though I loved Vegas, we didn't want to be there because Vegas is so influenced by Southern California. It's so close, and it's so influenced by Southern California that we just decided we didn't want to be there. I don't know. I like Texas a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are making those decisions I think it really hit people when COVID happened. A couple of months into it, is this really where I need to live? They're telling us that we need to do these things, and they're enforcing these laws, and then they're making me lose money on my business. I can't even live here anymore sometimes. Yeah.
I think COVID brought to light the reality that local government is more important than federal government. Yeah. It's more important because a local government, federal government, even if it makes a law, it only has so much ability to execute that law, right? To actually bring it to pass. Local government is more important than federal government, and it always has been. But it's been largely ignored. Like, I know through my childhood, we were always taught, yeah, if you show up to vote for mayor, if you show up to vote for governor or state legislature, but you have to vote for president. And now it's almost like, if you show up to vote for president, your vote may count, it may fucking not. Who knows? You have to show up to vote for mayor. You have to show up to vote for city council. You have to show up and vote for your local school districts and your governor and your local state legislature. And I think that's one of the beautiful things of COVID actually, is it revitalized this idea that it's not the United States of America, it's the United States of America. And you can choose where the fuck you want to be.
Yeah, that's a great
That's
point.
Pretty damn powerful.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know. You think you're going to be in Texas your whole life?
Probably.
Probably not California.
Not California for sure. Nope. The only other state that we had ever talked about, because it was so cool, we went to Florida. I was like, Florida's pretty similar to Texas, and they have beaches, which is something I love to visit.
Wait a minute. Y'all have Galveston. Don't talk down on Galveston.
Oh my goodness.
Go swim in that poo water. Yeah, that's some Dominican beach.
It's horrible. Oh my gosh. So we're talking real ocean.
I lived in Florida for a couple years. Yeah, on the Gulf side.
Yeah, that's awesome. It never came to fruition. It was possibly going to happen whenever my husband was still in the 9-to-5 mind. He was possibly going to get a job over there. So that was going to be our okay, see you later. We're going to Florida because we had to. But we ended up staying in San Marcos. So it worked.
What part of Florida were you going to move to?
I'm not sure where they would have put him in Florida, but I know it was on the left side of the state.
So the Gulf side, like Tampa, Naples, Gainesville, up in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
Cool. That's where I was. I love being in Florida. I know they have some big issues right now with property tax and insurance. It's so expensive to afford to live there. But if you can afford it, living there is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Speaking of insurance has become so expensive. It's insane. I have to get quotes from my clients whenever we do mortgages and stuff because most of them don't know you need insurance. I'm like, hey, I'll help you out. Let me get you a quote. And every time I ask for a damn quote, it's higher and higher and higher. Every freaking time. I'm like, I can't even, because I have to estimate a payment for a client whenever they're looking. And then when it comes down to an actual contract, they have an address and I estimate what it would be. And then I get a quote and it's like $50, $80, $100 more. And that's pretty significant.
Yeah, and that the incomes get screwed on.
That and the affordability part of it where the client feels comfortable with their payment because I had already told them like, well, we're estimated about this much and having to go back to say another 80 to $100. Like that can, I know it don't seem like a lot to us, but it could really be difficult for somebody who's coming in as a first-time home buyer who maybe has like a one household income. It becomes hard. So I'm like in that, it's like a funky kind of guessing game right now. In years prior, I was like on it. And now I'm just like, I can't even really guesstimate what it's going to be anymore.
Yeah. So you have a lot of issues. The property casualty insurance market. This is my world, right? Not property casualty. I did property casualty for years. I still own a property casualty IMO. And I have partners that run that whole side. I do the financial services side. But property casualties, it is nationwide in tumult. You have 13 CAT states right now, catastrophe states. And Texas is a weird state. So Texas is a state where it's not technically a CAT state because it's so big. Most of Texas, although you feel like you have the hurricanes hit, it doesn't devastate you. But the claim value in the affected areas like Galveston and Houston, and it's so massive, the rest of the state has to subsidize it. Otherwise, insurance companies can't afford to be there, right? Yeah. So then you have in these CAT states like California, Florida, New York, South Carolina, you have Arkansas, by the way, like through the Tornado Alley, the state decides to step in. But here's the problem. State regulators are fucking retards when it comes to insurance is all about monetary transfer of risk. It's all based on numbers. Yeah. And they want to add feelings to it. And feelings don't exist in a monetary state, right? You have this reality that insurance companies have spent billions and billions of dollars on claims in order to continue to justify operating profitably in the state. Because why would you run a business if you can't do it profitably? And people are like, oh, insurance shouldn't exist then. Okay, then the government is. By the way, the government is a fucking business. Yeah. If the government couldn't operate profitably, it wouldn't. And I realize we have national debt and unfunded liabilities. All that is a shifting of what the federal government can't do profitably to the taxpayer. The government itself operates profitably. Yeah. You better goddamn believe it. They just shift it to a different LLC or a different holding, which is national debt and unfunded liabilities, right? But you have states where, like California, for example, California is in a shitstorm right now because insurance companies are pulling out. State Farm, the number one home and auto insurer in the nation, pulled out of California.
Yeah, I saw that.
Why? Not because they couldn't be there profitably, but because the state of California wouldn't let them be profitable and be there. Mm-hmm. Most companies are pulling out. So that's why you see these huge increases and all. It's not the insurance company's fault. The insurance company wants to provide insurance at a rate that people are happy to pay, where they provide coverage that people are happy to have, right? But the states are saying, hey, no, you have to provide that coverage for 20% of it. That means for me to do business there, I have to go out of business. So I just won't do business there. And that's why you're seeing all these big rate changes and everything. So in the mortgage space, I actually literally just attended a whole seminar about this. In the mortgage space, you have debt to incomes, you have affordability, you have all these things. A mortgage officer or a loan officer's most effective tool when it comes to insurance would be quit disregarding insurance until late in the process. You should be working with your insurance professionals, the insurance agents you work with locally. They should be involved in the process before you even pre-qualify. It should be a part of pre-qualification. Because do you know what it takes to run an insurance quote? A name, name, birth date, and an address. That's it. And we can run a quote that's going to be within 5 to 10% of premium.
So the only problem with me is when I pre-qualify, I don't have an address yet. So like when people are shopping, they're shopping. And then until they have a contract, then they have an address.
So with insurance though, rates will change based on zip code, because this zip code sees more claims than that zip code or whatever. But give me some address, because most buyers, let's be real. Buyers aren't going into the Dallas-Fort Worth area and saying, hey, I will buy anything in Dallas-Fort Worth. No, they've got a pretty decent idea of what area they want to be in. Mm-hmm. Just give me an address in that zip code and we can be pretty damn close. It's going to change.
Yeah.
But it's not plus or minus 200%. It's plus or minus 10%. I have to have something. As an insurance professional, I have to have something. These are the tools in my toolbox. Those are the tools in yours. We, like insurance professionals and mortgage professionals, need to communicate more and communicate sooner, and it would create a better home buyer experience. I'm almost convinced. I'm not almost. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. But it takes a little bit of premonition.
Yeah, because it's a definite problem. It was not so much of a problem before.
Yeah, regulation has caused the problem, and it's not just Texas. It's for sure all the cat states, Texas as well, Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma is technically a cat state, but Oklahoma's seeing it. Most of your Midwest is seeing it. Indiana. But I would just say everywhere. I don't care if you're in Utah or Idaho or any of these non-cat states. If you're a mortgage professional, like if you're I'm in Idaho Falls, right? Mm-hmm. This is not a big town of 60,000 people. It's not massive. But there's not a single home buyer here who's not, oh, I really want to be in this neighborhood or these school districts, or cool, give me a couple of those zip codes, let me run a couple quotes, and I'll give you an average price between those. As a professional wanting to work with a mortgage professional for referrals, which is, by the way, if you're a home and auto agent, having a mortgage professional referring to you, that is such a coveted relationship.
Oh, yeah.
To have just a little bit of that information and be able to provide some pricing on the front side earlier in the process, I do that. And I run a mastermind. We have almost 4,000 insurance agents in our mastermind at this point across 22 countries, most of them in the US. But we teach all of them that. And they are all begging their mortgage lenders and their realtors, give me a little bit more information a little sooner, and I can be more responsive. If you leave me on the back end, you're 2 weeks to closing and you need a price now and a mortgagee change now and a update to dwelling A coverage now, there's going to be fucking problems. Insurance doesn't happen overnight. So just a little more communication. And that's me coming from the insurance side, right? Yeah. But I want to know from you, Ashley, what's the frustrations on the mortgage side? Because I have a big insurance list of following. They're going to hear you talk. Put it out there. What are they going to do? Not do business with you? Fuck.
Obviously, there's a lot of problems in the mortgage industry right now. But like when it comes to insurance, I like to get the quote as soon as we get the contract in. That way I can say, okay, we got the quote. This is what we're looking like. And give them a better average, obviously, of what their payment's going to be before we proceed. And I think, honestly, the biggest thing for me, like with the insurance, is that if I can get to you and say, hey, I need a quote, and it's given back to me within a couple of hours, that helps me a lot, because when I have a contract, I'm on a time crunch. I can't wait days because I only have 3 days to get the loan submitted or disclosed. So when I have an insurance, agent who wants my business and they take too long, I'm moving on because I have to. It's not anything against them. It's just, I got to move fast. And in addition to, I know that you mentioned like changing mortgagee or the dwelling amount. So I can say like throughout the process, when an appraisal comes back, that's when things like change throughout the mortgage. We're hoping that everything remains about the same and that we don't have to change loan amount, value, and stuff like that. But it happens. There's even more so now because the prices of the homes increased dramatically the past 2 years, and then they started to start level out down, decrease, and then we've seen a lot of decreases in some areas, and then some that remain stable. But the appraisers, some are coming back with the values much less than what they should be or what the agents think they should be, and that creates a problem for us as the loan officer because we have to go back and say, "Hey, house didn't appraise. So what are we going to do? Are you going to renegotiate? Are you going to rebuttal and provide me comp so I can give it back to the appraiser to see if we can go back up?" And then if it doesn't, then there's a loan amount change. So whether the seller comes down, agrees to, or the buyer agrees to pay the difference, then we have to immediately reach out to the insurance and be like, "Hey, we got a loan amount change. Now we have to change the dwelling coverage." So it happens. But being quick to be able to get it done it helps so much because now we're on time crunch. Because once we have the appraisal, now it's like, when are we closing? When are we closing? When are we closing? Hold on. It still takes time. For some reason, realtors and real estate agents think that once you get the appraisal, it's done, and it's not. So once that appraisal comes in, it's like, we need to close tomorrow. And it's like, you can't do that. And then having an insurance agent help us to come back quickly with that updated insurance binder is going to help us be able to get the file back to the underwriter much faster for them to review it and then re-review everything again. As much as we would like for it not to change, it's happening more often than I've seen. And
so the thing that takes insurance agents the most time is updating a binder, right? Because you want a binder because you want a policy number because you need it for your paperwork.
Yeah.
But once a policy is bound to submit any changes like that, it's 3 to 5 with a lot of companies. Some companies are 5 to 7 business days to have an actual updated binder. So if you're getting anything back sooner than that, it's actually a forged document. And usually they'll use Adobe PDF to just update the document. And knowing that, hey, me as an agent, I have binding coverage, so I'm just going to update it. And I'm confident the insurance company is going to have my back on the back end, but there's no guarantee, right?
When I have something that needs to be changed, I'll get it back like within the same day.
Typically, that's an updated it's an updated PDF. It's not on new paper from the company. It's on old paper that was just updated, and let me update a date and let me update but insurance agents are doing this because they feel like, oh my God, if I don't, I'm going to lose this mortgage lender. But prior to binding, which policy numbers are generated at binding for an insurance policy, right? Prior to binding, I can update in 30 seconds. Takes nothing to do that. And then I can generate a new proposal, new temporary binder, but it won't have a policy number on it. I have no idea what the policy number will be until I bind. And once I bind, I'm a minimum of 3 to 5 business days, usually 5 to 7 business days to actually have a new binder on relevant company paper. So I feel like there's this huge disconnect between mortgage and insurance, and it's not LO's fault, and it's not the insurance agent's fault. Y'all are doing what you have to do, and insurance agents do what they have to do.
Yeah.
I feel like insurance companies and mortgage companies ought to talk more.
Yeah, for sure. That and realtors and real estate agents, because they don't understand timelines.
Realtors drive me fucking nuts. I prefer used car salesmen over most realtors. I know some really cool realtors, but my God, realtors drive me nuts by and large.
Yeah, it can be complicated with some people, for sure. I've had a lot of crazy times that I've had to deal with, which makes it harder because we should definitely be a team. That's how we get people into homes, is working as a team. And nobody's in a higher position or a higher seat than the other. It's a It's almost like an equal game. However, the client ain't getting money unless our loan is approved and closed. So really, if you want to talk about who really is has a big say in anything, it's the mortgage lender, because they're not getting the house without money.
But the realtor brings you the business. And here's my question. Let me get you in some hot water. Do you want to get in some hot water? Go. So was it ERA or Remax? Big lawsuit on buyer's agents?
Remax, yeah.
Which set a whole new precedent, which I agree with whole fucking heartedly. What are your thoughts on buyer's agents, Ashley?
This is what I think. I know from what I know, right? I don't know all of it, but I know that listing agents, they're the ones who list the home. They go find a client who needs to list. However, I know that listing agents don't go knock on doors or find buyers most of the time for their listings because they're a listing agent. I know that the buyer's agents, they work to find buyers to sell the listing agent's home. So I feel like buyer's agents are important for the listing agent to sell their listing. As far as like the commission structure of it, that's difficult. That's hard.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like there's a lot of work to get a listing, for one, because you have to convince somebody out of probably thousands of agents that you're the one to list the home. And from what I know is that listing agents don't find buyers. You know what I mean? And that's where buyer's agents come into play, and they bring their buyers to the listing agents. I know that they list it. I know that the listing agents list it and they show pictures and they market and they may get a buyer. It'd be great for them because then they'll get the full 6% is usually what most places show as their commission. But I think one without the other it would be hard for a listing agent.
Yeah. I know you have to speak like it's your business, right? I know for me, it's like, why the fuck would I give up 3% of $500,000 or like 2.5 million? Why would I give up 3% of that to have somebody show me around? I can walk through a fucking house. I don't need somebody to ask me if I like the granite countertops. Either, I like them, or no, the fuck I don't. The whole negotiation thing, I'm sorry, but I've got an attorney on retainer. An attorney's literal fucking job, they did 8 years in school, is to negotiate. And for what I've already paid them for their retainer, they'll do that. For what I've already paid them on retainer, and if I didn't have them on retainer, for $500, they'll review a contract for me. Shit, you go get Legal Shield for fucking $50 a month. They will review your contract for you.
Yeah.
I don't personally find a lot of value in that. I don't find a lot. And I paid buyers and seller agents. I'm at a point in my life where I don't see a lot of the value, mostly in a buyer's agent. I can spend a couple $100 and have access to MLS and look at any fucking house on the market. Or I could spend a couple $100 and list my house. And I have an iPhone and I can take pictures that are as good or better than most of the pictures that are going to be taken by. I'm not trying to devalue the realtor. What I'm saying is the value the realtors brought to the market the last 10 or 15 years was dog shit, and they need to step it up. I will pay a realtor to do a step up job, but to do the job that I can do for $200 and 30 minutes of my time, they can eat shit and die. Like, I'm so over it. I value used car salesmen by and large over realtors right now. Not all realtors. There are some really good ones that I will give my money all day long.
Yeah.
But they go above and beyond. Do you want to know what they do? They don't wait for me to come and say, hey, I want to buy a property. They find me and find that, hey, this is a person that might want to buy properties. And they're hitting me up and they're like, hey, here's this property. I don't want to talk about cap rate because cap rate was some bullshit made up by realtors to make properties look better than they actually do. Let me talk to you about actual ROI. Like, I'm in the financial sector. I understand our ROI. Cap rate is bullshit. Cap rate means nothing other than you bought the house at a decent price versus its value, right? That's all cap rate is, but it's not a real reflection of ROI. So a good realtor to me is somebody that's going to help me make money.
Yeah.
That's where I'm willing to give a realtor money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you 6% all day long. Shit, I ask for 3 to 6% on financial services. I better be willing to reciprocate. But when I ask for 3 to 6% on financial services, I'm giving a guarantee I'm going to move somebody's needle forward in their own portfolio. Not, hey, I helped you do something you could have done for yourself in 30 minutes and $200, if that makes sense. And that's been like the last 15 years of the real estate market. And it pisses me off. So I'm calling it spade, Ash.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for different people. I think with the education and the knowledge that you have as an individual would see more in line with the way you feel. And those who are not educated and don't understand, they'll have no problem because they don't know what they don't know.
So that commission is a cost of tuition in essence.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get on board with that. I paid my cost of tuition. I have paid for education. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
That's fair. So where's an LO worth their money?
Oh, depends.
I don't argue with LOs, by the way. Holy shit. Like, you get me money at reasonable terms, fuck yeah, I'll pay you all day long. But where's an LO worth it?
Definitely. Okay, so I used to be in the retail world. So there's different sides of lending. And then there's different types of lending. So the retail side, it's like a store. Like, you walk into the store and they offer you what they have, right? And you're going to pay a premium to work with a retail lender. And then there's a wholesale side where you're going to walk into the back end of the store where they're buying everything. And you get to buy from all the different types of, different types of clothing, the different brands, and all of that. So
like
when you're
Smith versus Costco or
so
Kroger versus Costco.
As a broker, you can decide if you want to go with Costco or if you want to go with Sam's or Walmart or whoever. And retail, you got one choice and that's it. It's who they work with. It took me a really long time to realize that, because in the mortgage world and the loan officer world, there's a lot of talk that being a broker is like the worst thing in the world, and it's not. And me being in retail, I thought that. I was like, they don't have any control. They're not going to be able to talk to their underwriters. They're not going to be able to close as quickly as I do. They're not going to be able to offer the services that I was able to do. COVID happened. There was a big old turn in the market. I catered to first-time home buyers and they got wiped off the surface of the earth, it seemed. And I had to figure out what the hell I was going to do. And that meant for me to change the type of clientele that I was servicing. And it was investors. And still to this day, it's still investors. And I noticed that where I was working, I was not able to service investors because I didn't have the products available for those investors and I was drowning. So I had to make the choice to find a product that I could offer investors because that was the only way I was going to make money. So the only way I could do that was find brokers because they have access to all the products. They have access to all the brands. So I changed to the broker side of the world. And I truly believe working with a broker is the best option for anybody because they're gonna go find you the best deal. Instead of how I was stuck in this situation where I was the best at what I did, I was the best at my service, and it didn't matter what anybody else thought, but I only had one product. I only had that one brand that I could go to. So really opening up my eyes to realize that I made a great decision is exciting because I will be able to offer the products that clients need, regardless if I go back to first-time home buyers, investors, commercial, hard money, private money, family office, whatever it is, I have access to it. And I'll be able to shop all of them and give the best deal to the client.
So you got the suite of product, support like whatever model you need to chase at the moment.
Yep. Because we have to adapt. And those who are not adapting, they're falling like flies. Like the amount of loan officers that are out of business is insane. From, I think, at least February, everybody started dropping out. And by the end of the year, they anticipate more than, I think, 40% to start leaving the industry. Anybody that you see survive right now are the fucking cream of the crop. They're the survivors. They're the ones you want to work with. And all these other people that are dropping, we all have our lives, stuff happens, and some of us can't make it. And that's okay. But the ones who do, those are the true OGs.
No, I'm down for it. We say the same thing in insurance. Like the folks that can't afford to be in business right now, it's because they couldn't afford to be in business 2 years ago. They were just making too much money to go out of business. Anybody could have made it in any industry the last 10 years.
Oh yeah.
You had a little bit of pressure and the stress cracks appear. So
for sure. But yeah, I definitely think that's where the money is, working with a mortgage broker. They definitely have your back.
Interesting. Okay, question for you. Marry, fuck, kill. No, I'm joking. No, so you were talking about working with a mortgage broker.
Mm-hmm.
And in the insurance world, there's a lot of the same talk. It's like work with an insurance broker because they'll go find you the right thing and blah, blah, blah. But as somebody who runs a mastermind with 4,000 plus insurance agents in it, I'll tell you what I teach them.
Okay.
If you want to make money in insurance, you may represent 40 carriers, or I have 80 plus life insurance and annuity carriers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't write business with all of them. I have like 5 I do. And out of that 5, I do 90% of my business with 2. The way to be profitable is to know a couple companies' products really well and understand how to implement those products effectively for people, right? And then on the one-off that doesn't fit, now you have a place for it. You don't have to send it out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's, work with an insurance broker, work with an insurance broker. But understand, if your insurance broker can afford to be in business, they probably are putting you with 90% of businesses going to the same 1 or 2 or 3 companies. Even if they have 42 companies, that's what we advertise, but let's call a spade a fucking spade. I'm tired of the bullshit. Is it like my questions? I have so many questions. Number 1, is it the same on the mortgage side? And then number 2, the other thing I teach is that captive agents are actually just fine. It's just a different job, right? A broker's job is to find a client and then find the right tool for the client. Mm-hmm. A captive agent's job is to understand their tools really effectively and then become an expert marketer at finding the people who that tool is the best interest fit for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So I was just wondering, how does that translate in the mortgage world?
Yeah, I get that. I feel like how you say captive? You say captive agent?
Yeah, and captive, in our world, captive is you've got one company.
Yeah, okay. So that would be in line with retail, and that's exactly what I was. So I was with the company like 5 years straight, and then obviously 2 more before that. And that's what I did. I niched down to first-time home buyers, and that's who I serviced. And it was perfect. It fit perfectly, but then everything changed, so I had to adapt. But I would say, as far as the broker side of it, it's somewhat of the same concept, because you do want to create relationships with the investors or the lenders that you're working with, because obviously the more business you send them, the more perks and the faster turn times and the better that you work together with your account executive. And the account executives are the ones who go out to the loan officers to find business. They're also calling, almost like how the relationship is with the loan officer and a realtor. We have to go most of the time to the realtor because it's ass backwards, where clients think they have to go to a realtor first when they buy a house. It's the same thing for an AE. They have to go to us as the loan officers because we're the ones bringing in the business. So I would say, yeah, in a sense, it's about the same, that you would have the 80 available investors or lenders, and you'd use a handful of them because you know the way that they work. You know how the underwriters think, and you know how the AE works with you, because there's some shitty ass AEs out there. If they're getting fed a ton of business from somebody else and you send them like 1 or 2 deals, they're going to pay more attention to the other company who's sending them the shit ton of business and leave you on the dead end of, hey, where the hell is my file at? In the process, I need your help. I need your help to do this. That's what they're there to do, is to help you get your loan to close. But it's all about the relationships.
So do you find you're more empowered to do your job to serve people in general, or like a specific person as a broker, or you're just able to make more money as a broker?
No, to me, it gives me the ability to serve the clientele with the products that the broker side allows me to use. Because when I was in retail, I only had a limited amount of products available, and that limited my client on what option they could have. So technically, it's not really fair if you think about it.
Yeah. So what advice would you have to retail LOs? Would you tell them go brokerage side, or would you tell them partner with a broker and keep doing what you're doing? Or should the retail side go away?
I don't think it should go away, because it how can I say, it requires a certain type of personality and go-getter to be a broker.
Mm-hmm.
On the retail, you're very babied, and you have like layers of management who are supposed to take care of you. And obviously with layers of management, it costs more for them to give a rate to a client because of those layers of management. I would say that if you're a retail loan officer and it's working for you, stay a retail loan officer. But if it's not working for you and you're scared as fuck like I was, and you have to make a decision of whether you're going to make it in this business or not, give it a chance. Because it really did help me, and it opened my eyes to what I didn't know.
So is the grass greener, or was it just a different pasture that you were more willing to water?
Honestly, to me, it's greener. And the reason is because it's greener in a lot of ways because I'm able to help my clients decide what they want to do. It's not like me presenting, oh, on the retail side, it's, oh, this is what you get, and that's what you get. What I'm doing now is, oh, these are your options. You can get this, you can get this, you can get this. Which one would you like to do?
Interesting. So I preached for years, like the grass is not greener. I still stand by that. So let's fight. No, I've always just preached the grass is greener where you water it. And it's, again, different jobs. Because I will say this, when I was a captive agent, which is like similar to your retail LO, I had better underwriting, better access to my underwriters. I could move faster, much, much faster, because it was one team I was working with. I wasn't spreading my production across all these places. So bringing millions and millions of dollars to one company. And I still, to this day, I have that company's CEOs, CFOs. I haven't been with them for 4 years or something now.
Yeah.
And if I call, they answer. They don't know why, but they still do. But back when I was with them, it was like, hey, I need to get a policy through. I need to do a whatever. And we're not just talking about homeowners policies, like life policies where somebody's putting life insurance policy that's like $1 million a year or something, which most people are like, why would you spend $1 million a year? There's reasons. It's not the same reason you would buy a $250,000 term policy for. But I could get that done in a week or less from start to finish as a captive or a retail, right?
Yeah.
I'm 4 to 6 weeks to do that same kind of policy. As a broker, I have 80 plus companies. I never have a situation where I have to turn somebody away. I have situations I turn them away because it's not profitable for me to work that situation. So I refer them to someone else, but I don't have to. So I've always preached, and I preach and preach, like the grass is not greener. It's greener where you water it. It's a different model. So it's interesting that you're like, hey, it's greener. And I'm not going to argue with you. We're not fighting, Ashley. We don't have to hate each other. We don't have to hate each other. I just want to hear more about your conviction about the grass being greener.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people would find value in it. I have a lot of people hit me up and they're like, should I go brokerage side? I'm like, you should do what best serves your core focus and what you're trying to accomplish. That's what you should do. Right. But they don't understand me. So
yeah, I would agree. And I think that they're not going to understand you because they haven't been on both sides or given it a chance. Because if I never gave the chance, or actually, if the market didn't change, I'd probably still be in retail. Because like I said, I niched down. I went straight for them first-time home buyers. I knew every step that I needed to do, and it worked. But that changed, and I had to adapt. So going to the broker side allowed me to adapt. It's like you said, what's going to work for you. And how I say too, if you're a retail loan officer and it's working, stay a retail loan officer. But if you need to make a change, and like, what's there to lose if you're not closing anything anyways, and you're scared to go to the broker side, and then you go and you don't close any deals, it's not going to change your current situation, but what if it does allow you to? Because you're able to offer a different product now. But I agree.
I might have to update how I talk about this topic based on what you're sharing with me right now. So I really appreciate it. I don't get challenged a lot on shit. I'm a strong personality, Ashley. I just don't get challenged a lot on shit. So I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. How has going to the broker side affected your time and relationship with your family?
I feel like it has not changed much because honestly, I was not micromanaged at my retail where I was on retail side as well. I'm basically self-employed. Really, that's what I am. I don't get paid until I close a loan. So I'm the one who drives the force here. And it's the same on the broker side. I'm 100% commission. I don't get paid until I close a loan. So I would say it's still about the same because I can do my work wherever I need to. If I need to stop, I can stop. I'm my own self-employed and entrepreneur person with my business. So I don't feel like it has made any difference because I was doing whatever I wanted to before. Now, if you work for a company who they're like, you have to clock in, because I know this is true, that there's some companies, even if you are paid 100% commission, they tell you have to be there at a certain time. And that wouldn't work for me. Yeah.
What do you believe about God?
What do I believe? I believe that there is a God.
Did he tell you, or she, he or she, or it, 2023? Mm-hmm. I can't include all the non-binaries. Did this non-gendered God tell you to go broker, or that it was okay to go, or what was the relationship there, and how did that conversation go? Because I find most people that believe in a God prayed about their decision.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about that whole thing.
So it took me a really long time, obviously, because I was scared of all the crap that I've heard. And I always include God in my decisions. And I always look for signs. I always look for events that happen. I ask for signs.
What was the sign?
The signs were that I kept hitting a damn wall.
Okay.
Literally. Like, I could not understand why I was not producing anymore like I was. Why was it so great? And then all of a sudden it just completely changed. To me, first of all, that's okay. Something changed, obviously. They didn't realize what it was until after the fact, which was the change in the market with COVID and all this crap happening. Just looking back at that stuff, now I can say. But in the moment I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it. So not being able to produce like I was, obviously is something very scary to me because I'm really good at what I do. And producing is a part of my job. And when I kept hitting the wall of not getting paid anymore, I knew those were my signs. I had to do something different.
Interesting. Do you ever second guess your signs?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was definitely second guessing. That's why it took me so long to actually make the decision, because I kept second guessing it. I'm like, no, it's going to change. It's going to change. It's going to get better. It's going to work out. It didn't. And yeah, so it was literally just one of those, it's, you know what? If I'm already not doing that great, how much worse is it going to be? And it wasn't.
Damn. I feel like literally every property casualty agent on the insurance side should probably listen to this episode. I'm going to push this episode hard. I don't care if they're captive or independent. There's so much fucking value here. There's so much value here. And I know you're talking the mortgage world, but it's so interchangeable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see with other mortgage people? What's their big struggles?
There's a lot of people not making it. I'm seeing that a lot. I'm in these Facebook groups because I like to be up with the times and see what other people are doing. Is there something that I'm missing, or is there something I can improve myself, education, whatever the case is. And I just see people like, I'm running out of money. I don't know what to do. I've tried applying to jobs. I can't get a job. What do? I don't want to leave the mortgage business. Like, I've been in this for years. What is everybody else doing? What are the side hustles? What are you doing to survive? That's the conversation that I'm seeing. And I've been seeing that for months. And it's getting worse.
What's the answer to it? If you wanted to help every mortgage person survive, and not just survive, but like thrive, what would the answer be?
You have to get out and put yourself out there. 2 years ago, people were just making money left and right, not lifting a damn finger. Now you're having to put in the work. And the loan officers who are coming in brand new don't know what work is. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to survive. So you have to go out, talk to the realtors, the salespeople at the new construction offices, like the builders. You need to go to networking events. You need to show that you're here. Because with COVID, everybody started working at home. Behind me, this is where I work now. I don't have an office anymore. There's no reason to have an office. It's just more money out of my pocket that I don't need to put into. And with a lot of the loan officers are working at home now, which is great, but you're not getting out anymore. And that's a problem. In addition to, if you don't want to get out, you need to get on social media, and you have to show everybody that you're on social media and that you're still a loan officer. Whenever everybody was not wasting their time because you made a lot of money in the refinancing side of the business. And that's where a lot of people are actually dropping out, because that's all they know how to do. If you don't know business, you have to learn it and you have to do it, because we're in a purchase world right now. We're not in a refinance world right now. Until rates ever come down, then you can be your refinance guru or whatever. But you have to learn the purchase business and you have to go after it.
Like the refinance business, it's not going to come back for decades, because you have, 1/3 of all mortgages were refinanced over the last 2 or 3 years. You have 30 years of folks at 1.5% to 3.5% interest. That shit is not going to get refinanced for the next 30 fucking years.
Definitely. And a bigger portion of homes are paid off. Nobody wants to have a 9% interest rate on borrowing money. It would make sense if somebody's drowning in debt where they're paying 17 to 30% on credit cards or installment loans to get rid of that, get into a 9% rate. But there's you're right. There is no reason to get out of that rate unless you have to. And there's not a lot of have tos right now.
No, I feel like there's going to be a lot of have tos in the next 24 months. Statistically, all the major economists in the world, so like on the finance side, that's one of the things we're looking at. Nobody has to today. And it's not that I don't believe home values are going to drop that much. I don't think there's going to be a real estate market crash, but it's an economy based crash. So you have, when was it 2018 or 19? The Fed came out and said there was that big boost on debt to income you could lend on. It went up by 30%, somebody's income versus what you could loan against. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
It was massive. So it went from, you're making $100,000 a year, we can lend you $300,000 to you're making $100,000 a year, we can lend you $500,000.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back because obviously FHA is one of the ones where you can really push that DTI, which is like 56.99. It has been like that a long time.
So this would have been like 18 or 19. It was a huge boost. I'll have to go look it up because now I'm going to make an idiot of myself. But here's the problem. We had massively inflated incomes from 2019, 2020, 21, 22. And even right now, this whole UPS thing and the whole auto manufacturer thing, and we're talking inflated incomes based off of an inflated economy it's a fake fucking economy. People are like, I need more money because of this economy, because if I go down and buy a fucking Philberto's or an Alberto's burrito, it's $9 now and it used to be $3. That's because they're fucking you on the burrito. That doesn't mean your employer's fucking you on your income. They're fucking you on the burrito. Mm-hmm. Hit up Philberto's, not your employer. But people don't think about that, right? They're like, oh, pay me more. But the problem is we printed, I can't even remember the numbers right now, but it's 50% or some, I don't know. I'll have to go look. One third or one half of every American dollar that's ever existed has been printed since the start of COVID.
Yeah, I think I remember reading something about that.
Okay. So then also consider there's 87 trillion dollars in the entire world, not just American dollars, all money combined, right? It's the equivalent of 87 trillion. Over 50% of that exists in pensions. It's 40 something trillion dollars in pensions owned by just a few companies.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, not owned, but managed by just a few companies, right? So then we get into, there's so many fucking components here. We have our national debt is like $30 trillion in the United States.
Yeah.
3 years ago, it was like, we used to do financial services based on this. We'd be like, hey, after 200 years as a country, we're 20 trillion in debt. In 3 years, we increased by 30% in national debt. And that's not even the scary number, because national debt is just money we physically owe to other entities, right? The scary number is unfunded liabilities. That's the really scary one. That's the one that says, we made this promise, but we haven't figured out how to pay it yet. By the way, folks can go to usdebtclock.org and look at this. Our unfunded liabilities are like 170 trillion dollars. It's been a few months since I've logged on. No. So everyone's concerned about our national debt at 30 trillion. Try 160 trillion dollars.
Wow.
That's the problem. So like Social Security is not a national debt. It's an unfunded liability. Pensions are an unfunded liability. It's a promise we made. We haven't figured out how to pay on yet.
Yeah.
So we have all these things and all these incomes. And here's what I'm getting to, Ashley, is that everybody feels like, oh, I should be paid more. Oh, I should be paid more. Oh, I should be paid more. But should you? Or is that just another promise that we're going to make that we haven't figured out how to actually fulfill?
Yeah.
And what happens when it all collapses?
Yeah.
I don't know. The majority of your economists in the world, my point is that we don't need a collapse in real estate value. We need a collapse in ability to pay on a mortgage, because now I can leverage a larger percentage of my income to get a mortgage, against an income that never did exist. It was just a promise that was made that nobody's figured out how to pay out on yet.
Yeah.
What happens when somebody says, okay, we have to pay the Pied Piper, which, by the way, has already started in, when was it, 2021 or 22, when they cut off quantitative easing. So the backslide has already started. Incomes are already starting to drop. So great, you're at 3%, but you're on 3% on 50% more home than you could actually afford.
Yeah.
Which means if we added 50% to that 3%, you're at 5.5% or 4.5 to 5.5%. And if you couldn't afford 4.5 to 5.5 on that amount of money, you're probably going to lose that property, whether it's a second property or a primary residence or whatever. And that's what I've maintained. I haven't wanted to buy real estate. I told folks shit was going to hit the fan in the next couple of years in 2018. Then I was laughed at in 2020 when shit just skyrocketed. But why did it skyrocket? Because we started printing money like fucking crazy. It's all artificial. Mm-hmm. And now we're sitting here on the cusp of this, and I feel like a dick, but I'm now in a position where I have the cash to buy everybody else's misfortune.
Yeah. That's what a lot of investors are waiting for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's, the real estate market's not going to crash. I don't need it to crash. I just need you to not be able to pay your bill. You don't have to sell your home. The bank's going to fucking sell it. They're going to sell it to me for pennies on the dollar. Why? Because you were FHA. You're paying PMI on mortgage insurance, and they can sell your $500,000 for $250,000 to me, and they'll get their other $250,000 from the federal government, who's just going to print the fucking money to pay them in the first place. People don't understand this plight that they're in. Mm-hmm. Like, they are not supported by real estate values. I hate real estate. Hate it. I don't know. Yeah. I'll shut up because this podcast is about you, but talking about this plight, because I work with high net worth individuals almost exclusively on wealth management, right? Most of them feel the way I do.
Yeah.
They're not quite as optimistic about real estate right now as a primary holder, a primary residence or whatever, as the average American. My clients make money on real estate, but they're going to make money based on someone else's misfortune. And that's what they've been banking on the whole time. And it sounds dickish, but if there's a winner and a loser in every situation and you get to pick which one you are, they pick to be winners. I don't know. Talk to me about this for a while.
Yeah, I think that's true. That really goes back to the conversation of knowing what you only know. So with the first-time home buyers, they don't have that education. They don't have the extra money to even probably think about being an investor ever in their lives, because they're one income or possibly two income households that can barely afford a home or rent at this point. I know that the talks with the investors that I do talk to, they're waiting for exactly what you just talked about, but they're still buying homes. I do see that a lot of investors are still leveraging the loans regardless of rate right now, so long as it makes sense, obviously, for the lender to be able to lend, and they still could take advantage of it because they want to keep that cash ready and available whenever the homes are ready to buy.
So are they doing it? So I'm still holding out, and I'm holding out because I can go make, like, a lot of investors are like, money might cost 9%, but I can make 11, 12. Shit, your net at that point is 3. We're inflating at 5 to 7. So you're still moving backwards at 4 to 5, 4 to 6, right? Mm-hmm. For me, I'm like, hey, I can take that same money and park it in a private placement, or there's so many places, and I can make 10, 11, 15 guaranteed with 300% collateral right now today. And now if we're inflating at, say, 7 and I'm making 15, shit, I'm still on top for 8.
Yeah. So I will say that a lot of people don't know about those strategies. So the education piece of it is missing. And honestly, that's probably the biggest problem overall, is the education of being able to park your money somewhere that would give you that type of return so that you're still on top.
So where do folks like you and I have this, like, where does the moral obligation start and stop to provide education instead of just continue to solicit for an income? You and me both, because we both get paid the same way if we sell shit.
That's hard to say. Obviously, I'm in the business of, when I started, it was to help first-time home buyers. Now I'm also on the investment side myself, because I do fix and flips, and then I do new construction homes. So with growth over time, that has changed. And then my clientele is investors as well. It's hard to say. This is what I do, is what I love, and to be able to help people. And if an investor says that it makes sense for them to be able to leverage the financing to purchase this property or multiple properties at a time, I'm going to give them that service.
Yeah. No, I agree, by the way. My job is not to tell people what to do. It's to educate and implement. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. It does break my heart a little bit. The education is not more readily available on my side, on your side, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't know. And so they pay out the nose because of it.
Yeah. And just thinking about it, because that has always been my thing too. It's like, getting into this business, I started like at the very bottom. I was a loan officer assistant, then I became a processor, then a loan officer, then branch manager. And of course, at each level, you're like seeing different things at a different perspective. So as a processor, I would see loan officers sell, even though I didn't understand it, it was a sales job at that time, honestly. And then issue out the pre-qualifications to people who didn't even qualify to purchase homes. But it's because they were on the bandwagon of just being a machine and getting pre-quals out so that they can make their realtor happy. And that kind of mentality is like, why the hell are you going to waste so much time when this ain't going to work in the first place? And why are you going to break somebody's heart whenever you told them they can qualify, and then come down to it, you're going to have to turn around and say, oh no, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. So there's different kinds of like hearts in both of our industries. And me seeing that firsthand, I would never do that. And that's why I do things differently than most loan officers do in our industry, because I can't sleep at night comfortably doing what I've seen. And then the education piece of it, I think that has a lot to do with it, because loan officers who will send out these pre-qualifications left and right, but then not give any education behind what they're actually doing, or what they're actually purchasing, or what their payment's going to be if they purchase around this amount or here, or how much it's going to cost to actually buy a house, when most people think that it's just a down payment that you pay, and it's not. There's like way more to it. And then honestly,
no, keep going.
Then honestly, it really begins with our education system. There's nothing in our education system that prepares anybody for the real world life, and missing on how to buy a house, or how to pay rent, or how to really do anything. It's not in our education system anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was talking about that literally yesterday with somebody. Like, our education system is we're still teaching people how to live life in the 1950s. Like, why the fuck do you need to know trigonometry? You don't. You can just ask Siri, and that's a blessing. Let's move on from that.
Right.
Like, great, Siri's here. Let's move on. Let's teach people how to do the other things in life. We're no longer worried about how do you find a 90-degree angle. You use a motherfucking framing square.
Yeah.
That's how you find a 90-degree angle. No, you got to divide one half by the other half, and shut the fuck up. You use a framing square, and then you move the fuck on and solve bigger problems. And people, like, I get hated on so much for this, Ashley, because I'm like, why do we spend our whole lives learning how to solve the problems of yesterday when we don't live in the problems of yesterday? We live in today's problems.
Yeah.
And people are so ignorant of today's problems that it's fucking them. And this, like, all the billionaires that they're so pissed off are making all this money. You want to know what they're monetizing? The ignorance that people have about today's problems.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. So let's switch some gears here for a second. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
We're not going to go into marry, fuck, kill. We could, but we're not going to. If there was three things, only three things across any area of life, three things that you could do before you left this world, what do you need those things to be so that you can be happy?
Damn. Honestly, oh my gosh, you got me all like with no words because that's like super deep question. I for sure would say that I need to make sure that my kids and their kids are set up, regardless of obviously monetary wise. Although I truly believe in like hard work and my kids working for their life or whatever, but I still feel like I had the resources and the education to be able to do that, as well as the drive to figure out a way to make that happen. That is highly important to me because of the struggles that I've went through as a child, and I don't want that for my kids or their kids. I guess another one, I really have a great relationship with my mom, and I really want to have her set to. She has done so much for us girls, like me and my sisters, and has gone through so much shit that she's also somebody that I want to make sure. And of course, she's probably going to go before I do. But hypothetically, if I go before she does, I would like to make sure she has her house paid off. She doesn't have any bills that she has to worry about, and that she has an income coming in. And I don't know, the third one. Obviously, my husband's involved in all the stuff between those two things that I would love. But I guess a third thing, I don't know. Third one is hard to think of.
Think of it. We got time.
Honestly, the only things that come to mind, and it's always like being able to give to others, somehow give to others in some way that they don't have to struggle so much, whether that be health, money, shelter, some way that it just gets them a way through life to where they don't have to struggle somehow.
I get that. What would that look like to you? Like, how would you actually, what's the mechanism that could possibly do that?
The only thing that comes to mind is because I build homes, and then our mission behind it is like the building affordable homes and servicing the clients who have low to moderate income, is to be able to have maybe like a community to where there is housing available. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of clothing. Somewhere, a safe place where people could come to that has security, enclosed, something that's paid for to where they don't have to worry.
What do you mean by worry?
Worry about like security aspect. Are you supposed to be here? No, you need to get the hell out. Shelter. They have a house that they can sleep in at night. They have a bed. They have clothes. They're not going to have their kids maybe not have to worry about wearing the same clothes every day. Food, the availability of having a meal.
Why is that so important to you? Like, I can tell it's hit, like, you're talking about that from the heart. Why is that such a big deal to you?
It's obvious we talked about it. It's because of my childhood, and definitely has everything to do about that. Because I've been that.
What's your next step to making that happen?
It's continuing with finding land to continue to develop, and to obviously we have to profit to be able to make money, to be able to build something like that and store money away to do that. in addition, I can't do it by myself. Me and my husband can't do it by ourselves. We have to get other people who are on the same mission to do and give like that.
Do you know who Sean, I think it's Sean Gatz or something like that is?
I don't recognize the last name.
So he's on TikTok. It's seriously, I don't follow anybody on TikTok, but I like follow, like I watch his content, right? I like the dude. Super cool dude. He bought this like shit ass fucking piece of desert outside of Tucson, Arizona. And just one man show. He's building some shit out and he's been living in a gazebo and whatever. But his whole thing is he's building or he's getting to build like housing for homeless and low cost. And he's, you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna do work and film myself doing work, and that's my TikTok content, and the money I make off of TikTok and whatever I'm gonna use to actually build the thing. It's so cool. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's not Sean, maybe it's other people, but there's definitely some people out there that share a similar dream. And what I found is this: I found trying to go it alone never fucking works. Mm-hmm. I found collaboration goes so much further and so much faster than competition.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Who do you know that you could collaborate with? Let's say names.
I know other people who do like development and stuff like that, but really just haven't found those people who have that same giving mindset. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's always like whenever I have like conversations with people, it's always about how much are you making? I'm like, why is it always about that? Like, why don't you ask me why I'm doing it? Because whenever I talk to people about why I'm building affordable homes, like with other builders and stuff, they're like, oh, you're not making much money doing that. I'm like, why is that the first thing to say? There's more behind it. So I already know those are my people. I just haven't found the right people.
Where would you find the right people?
That, I don't know. What I continue to do is go to different builder events, masterminds, different places where other people are doing what we do. And that's what I'm doing. And then social media, seeing who else is doing, building houses, stuff like that. Just haven't found the right people yet.
Fair. I get that. I like everybody's always, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And I'm like, at what point am I making the money I needed to make to live the life I wanted to live? And everything in excess can go to something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's difficult to find those people. So you mentioned masterminds. That's where you and I met, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a mastermind. What masterminds are you looking at? Because Ashley, I've got 6 listeners, but eventually, at some day, in an undetermined future, I'm going to have 6 million listeners. I swear to God, I'm going to do it. I'm a consistent motherfucker. I will show up and make it happen. What masterminds are you looking at or participating in?
Right now, I'm actually looking more local. That way I can show up and actually meet people in person, because how I mentioned, I can read and feel people, be part of my decision if we're going to work together or not. And having a face-to-face conversation is something that helps to decide. But I've been and how I find them, honestly, is just on social media, who's having an event, something that's coming up. I've also started to do like a speed networking event in my area. That way I can bring other businesses together to help them to, like, if they can make a connection, it'll help bring money to their business and vice versa, in hopes that I can find that connection there too. So that's been pretty fun recently. So, you know how they say, if you can't go on their table, to create your own table kind of thing. So I took it in that kind of sense to make my own speed networking event and see who arrives at my table.
That's literally why I started my events, was like, I am not going to pay to be on someone else's stage. I'm not going to suck somebody else's butthole to be on their stage. I know that's crass, but yeah.
Like, it's a lot of kiss assing for a lot of people and a lot of the bigger masterminds that we see, it's clear as day. It's no secret.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Who do you need in your Rolodex to this dream you have of obviously making what you need to make to live the life you want to live, and then having this immense amount of excess to pour into this dream you have, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you need in your Rolodex to make that happen?
It's definitely probably going to require maybe like the city to get involved, to be able to find an area that would make sense for a city as well. And then I know that there's a lot of grants that come through the city that they can place money in certain areas, and hopefully a city can get on board for that. In addition to, obviously, money is always how you can do something like that. You have to have the money, the resources too. So somebody who has the resource to provide funds to be able to build homes, and then it'd have to be an ongoing thing to where, since food would be involved, we'd have to be able to have a budget for that and clothes and stuff like that.
Have you put it on paper?
Not all of it, no. But the dream of doing that, yes. But as far as each step to get there, no.
Right now it's a dream. It's not a plan.
A plan because I wrote it down. It's going to happen. I do entirely believe that it will happen. It just happened.
Knowing you, I don't doubt it'll happen. I don't doubt. I do know it won't happen until you write it all down.
Yeah. Until I get everything step by step on what needs to happen, I think, then it'll fall into place.
Yeah. What does your husband think about all this?
Oh, he is 100% on board. This is something that we had to work up to, for sure, because he was doing like a 9-to-5 before. He definitely had a different mindset than I did for a long time. And then once we were on the same page in the same book on the same page, everything started to flow a lot more easier with everything. But it's also his dream to do something like that too, because not only one, we both had somewhat of the same upbringing in a sense. His is a little bit different, but I think that with both of our minds together with it, it just makes it stronger and something that we can strive for together.
How did you guys meet?
We met in high school.
High school sweethearts.
Yeah. We went to a very big school where it was set up like a college. So you had
You guys are in Texas. Everything's a big fucking school. Stop it.
Yeah. So
my graduating class was like 180. You guys are like 1,850.
Dude, it was a big graduating class, and somehow I missed him for a lot of years. And I saw him one day and I was like, that's going to be my boyfriend one day. Sure enough.
That's so funny. Like, my wife and I will always talk, and it's like, what if I would have known you in high school? It's like, you would not. I was like Ronnie Radke, like just emo as fuck, just cut my wrists and black my eyes. And she was just perfect little angel. Ask her mother. She never did anything wrong. Oh. But thank God I didn't meet my wife in high school.
Oh, buddy.
Do you think you and your husband would have gotten along had you met before you did?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
That's some rare shit. Yeah. It's rare.
Yeah.
How big was your graduating class?
Gosh, I don't even know. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it was huge. We have like one of the biggest stadiums in Texas for a high school stadium for football. That's where we graduated, and we took up like a whole like section.
Which is crazy. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Fucking mega churches. Like in Texas, if a mall goes out of business, you can guarantee a church is starting up next week. Yeah. And it's so crazy because I remember like my graduating class, 180, and then all my siblings graduated from the same high school. And I went to a few of their graduations, like, oh my God, this is going on for forever. I can't imagine sitting through your shit. What did it take? 3 days? Was this like Coachella? Was it?
Yeah, it took a while. I remember that day. It was a good day.
How? How was that a good day? Sitting there and listening to other people. So-and-so graduated. And you're like, oh, yeah, so-and-so graduated? That's fucking crazy. I watched her eat a fucking pencil in 10th grade.
How funny. Yeah. But basically in our city, we had the elementary schools and then the junior high, and then we all combined to 2 high schools. And the one I went to was the biggest. So basically everybody just went to pretty much one because they were the biggest one, but everybody knew everybody.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a different world. Texas is such a different world.
Yeah.
Like going to another country.
But it used to be its own country.
I know, and that's why y'all get to fly your flag at the same height as the U.S. flag.
U.S. flag? Yeah. It's crazy.
Everybody else is like a whole notch underneath, but half of them are like flip that shit upside down, but not Texas. Texas, remember the Alamos, that shit that got sacked? Come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
No, I know. I went to the Alamo the other day. They're like doing a lot of remodeling. I don't know. They're like building stuff out there. It's all blocked off and I don't know what they're doing, but they're making some changes out there.
Turning into a Comfort Inn, Motel 6.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of extra and
touristy shit.
Yeah. It should just
that sucks.
Yeah. They should definitely just leave it alone.
We only have, we've got a few minutes left here, but some recent Texas stuff. Speaking of a lot of renovation, is border wall stuff in Texas against federal government. There's been a lot of clash back and forth, and Rio Grande fucking buoys, and y'all have had some shit. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I won't have a lot to say because I try to like keep out of it. But I do know that in the border towns, there's a lot of crossing going back and forth right now, and a lot of people coming into our country that probably should not be here. Like with what's going on the other side of the world, that's more of the issue that I'm most afraid of, is that the terrorists and whatever word should be used are coming into our country, and that's a huge problem. I have seen that there's a lot of males coming through and targeting like women and children. There's a lot of kidnappings, even like where I'm at. I wouldn't even go to the grocery stores off of the interstate because that's the easiest way to obviously take somebody and leave. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy ass shit going on that even in probably one of the safest places that we live in, it's really not that safe. Because I won't even go to the stores anymore, just because there's just too much going on. I won't go to the store.
Is it that safe then? Because I'm going to tell you this right now. I've got a beautiful wife, and like she felt that way in Vegas, right? But up here, like she'll go with fucking anywhere here.
Yeah. Honestly,
is Texas that safe?
In some areas, I would say, yeah, we're not that close to a border town. And I feel like it's really starting to spread out. There's a lot of too much stuff going on to where women and children and even men need to be careful. There's so many kidnappings of what you would think, like men getting kidnapped. Yeah, it happens all the time.
I've had nightmares of being kidnapped and turned into a sex slave.
That is definitely what's going on.
Yeah. No, there's some crazy shit. I don't mean to make light of it, but as a 250-pound man, turn me into a sex slave. No, stop. Please don't. I don't mean to make light, but here I am making light. It's some crazy shit. And I love Texas. I mentioned that before. Everyone's, Texas is so safe. Everybody has 20 guns.
Yeah.
I don't have those problems up here. Is it because crime is afraid of snow? I don't know.
And think about it, it's probably because of the access to the interstate and easily getting into the border or crossing. Let's face it, it's all sex, drugs, and terror.
Dude, which is so crazy. So I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and I was like, man, being up here, it's great, but in the winter, I want to get out at least once a month, spend once a week a month down in like Vegas, Phoenix, Bahamas. And he's, man, I have a whole vacation booked out of Costa Rica. So I have this event in Scottsdale, Arizona, in January, right? And he's sponsoring it. He's one of our sponsors. Yeah, I'm flying right out of there. I'm going to Costa Rica. And I was like, oh, cool. I was thinking about going to the Bahamas. He's like, Bahamas is so much more expensive. And yeah, but I'm not going to get, there's so much less likely of a chance of all the bullshit going on, right? And he's like, his reasoning was like, yeah, but the cartels own the fucking resorts. They're not out to make trouble at the resorts. They make money there. And I'm like, but if that's the fucking reason for feeling safe there, I feel like that's a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many things that are running through my mind because of that.
Tell me those things. We've got a few minutes still. Tell me the things running through your mind.
Like he's saying, they don't want to create any trouble, but if they own them, it gives them more of the ability to be able to kidnap women and children and even men to be sourced as sex slaves or be packaged with drugs. So to me, that doesn't make me feel good.
And for the men listening to this podcast, so that's not me. I'm sorry, but have you ever been to the fucking doctor and had your prostate milked? I'm sorry. You are a fucking semen factory. You're a product as much as anybody. I don't mean to be crude, Ashley, but like men need to realize it's just as serious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It's just serious. It's a significant problem. And everybody continuing to downplay it, I feel like only lends into, I'm sorry, but I've had so many opportunities, so many personal invites. Hey, jump with me on my jet and let's go to Cabo. I'm renting this mansion. I will not. I'm not going to put dollars into something that I know is going to support. I know the folks that, I know who owns the mansion. I know who owns the resort. I'm not going to give them the fucking money to keep doing what they're doing. Even though they own it and they're not going to fuck with me, who are they going to go fuck with because of the money I gave them? Such a crazy world, and people don't stop to think. Spend the extra $500 and go to the Bahamas. Quit going to Cabo, at least for now. I'm just saying. That's my own opinion, but
yeah,
I'm going to get canceled or offed for that, but whatever. Got a lot of life insurance. A lot of people have a lot better life if that happens, so whatever. But Ashley, before we close out, God forbid, because you're an amazing person, but God forbid, if something happened to you and if you got off this podcast, you went outside and you're like, I got to decompress, lit up a cigarette, probably a menthol, like a Virginia Slim, right? You smoked it all the way down and then you inhaled real hard on that last puff, choked on a cigarette butt and perished. What I'm saying is right now is your last moments. If right now was your last moments, you had something left to give the world. Maybe at some point this podcast is in front of 1,000, 1 million, 10 million people. I don't know, 1 billion people. What would you want to share with the world?
Oh my God. I think it's definitely going to have to be that you have to believe in yourself and you have to, oh man, it all comes to like, it starts with you. It's you're the one who can make the difference, and you have to believe that you can do that. And although everybody else says that you need the motivation from everybody else, or you need the motivation from an outside source, it really starts with you. And you have to believe that you can do it, whatever it is that you want to do.
Down for that.
Cool.
I am down for that. You feel good about that? That's what you're leaving?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
In stone, Moses. Bah. All right. Cool. Ashley, thank you for being here. Thanks so much for tuning into the A2C podcast today. I appreciate you joining me on this unfiltered journey into the minds of remarkable people. I hope you enjoyed the candid conversations, the authenticity, and the insights shared. Remember, this is an ad-free podcast, so your support in sharing this with others, well, it means the world to me. If you want to stay connected with me and the podcast and be the first to know about our upcoming guests and episodes, follow me, the podcast, whatever, on social media, A2C Podcast on Facebook, and we'll get our Instagram and everything else set up. At cporter389 is my own personal stuff on all platforms. Your feedback, your ideas, they're invaluable to me. Drop me a message, drop the podcast a message, share your thoughts, let me know who you'd like to hear from next. Together, we're on this mission to explore all the facts of success and life, but be candid as hell about it. So I appreciate you. Come find me, come follow me, and let's do some awesome things together. Appreciate y'all.